Frosty's charges. It's just a week till Christmas when the news came on TV. Santa Claus was being charged with abuse against Frosty. A press conference was held, and a crowd of people grew. They were there to hear if these charges could be true. Frosty spoke up first, crying icicles for tears. What Santa did to me was the worst of snowman fears. He pulled my carrot nose out and fed it to Rudolph. All the other reindeer just stood and laughed and scoffed. I was so embarrassed I could have melted into slush. As Frosty dropped his head, you could see his face was flush. When Frosty finished speaking, the crowd became enraged, and Santa's resignation was soon to be arranged. And that's when Santa Claus told his side of the news to answer allegations of this terrible abuse. Even through his beard, you could see his face was sad. It seemed so out of place to hear of Santa being bad. But he confessed by saying, it's been 5 years or more, but I remember pieces of what happened long before. He said, I do recall Frosty standing halfway froze, with a fancy scarf and hat, but an ugly carrot nose. So I just replaced it with a button from my vest. And now he is the snowman who always looks his best. Then he opened up his coat, and he showed the vest inside. His buttons matched the one below Frosty's coal-black eyes. But the problem is, he said, if you force me to resign, who will bring the gifts and deliver them on time? The last words struck a note. Folks had a second thought. Who will take his place, they said, to bring the gifts he brought? And so, with that in mind, a group was organized. They would forgive poor Santa if he'd just apologize. But the first group yelled, no way! We're all on Frosty's side. And the second group shouted, we're with Santa, they replied. Arguments were happening. They all began to shout. And suddenly, amid all this, a shoving match broke out. Santa jumped up to his feet. He had to stop all this. He yelled out to the crowd, you're on my naughty list! Oh, Santa Claus was worried. He knew fights would soon begin. Suddenly, the doors flew open and a man came walking in. Everyone stopped and turned toward the man there in the foyer. Everybody knew him. It was Santa's high-priced lawyer. He looked around the room, eyeing the rowdy crowd, then straightened up his tie and addressed the crowd aloud. These charges brought by Frosty are certainly perplexing, but there's a stipulation his lawyer is forgetting. I've been going state to state, all across this nation, studying all the laws and statutes of limitation. These charges must be dropped. According to U.S. law, all charges brought by snowmen only last until spring thaw.